Hello everyone, welcome to a new video of the Indicator Store, and today we are going to review smart money concepts, mainly how to detect and use pivots. Maybe several of you have tried to trade a double bottom or a double top. Let's say, like, if we want to trade this double top, usually we can place a limit order on the previous pivot, but the problem is several times the price, there are a lot of stops over those pivots, those levels, and the effect of filling those stops is moving the market even higher. So if you place your stop here or here, the problem is, depending on the risk of each trader, they place the stops closer or higher, no? But if the price just fills one of the stops, the stop is just a buy, a go long. So the more buys, the more the price keeps going up until there are no more stops. So finally, the market moves in the correct direction to the downside, but with all the stop fill. So what can we do? Wait for the bar to close, and this is the close of that bar. So that could be a moment to enter short. So there are a lot of places where this effect happens, mainly on very evident pivots, something like this. On some pivots, it works perfect with a limit order, but on other pivots, the number of stops over that pivot are so big that the market moves too much over that level. So we need to wait and see what happens. But even so, we need to detect all those pivots. So how can we detect a pivot? One of the rules is looking several bars to the left and to the right, and be careful with that parameter. The idea is, if we look n bars to the left, n bars to the right, and this is the lowest low, this is a pivot. The problem is, this number means that I don't know if that is a pivot after that number of bars. So if I search for a 5 pivot, okay, so I need to wait 5 bars, and only then I know that this was a pivot. So we have an indicator included with NinjaTrader. The indicator name is Swing. That is very useful for this. You can find it. All the platforms have something similar. The swing has only one parameter. There's no way to configure strength to the left and strength to the right. The problem is, if I want a very evident pivot, like for example this one, with more than 50 bars to the left, I am also needing or requesting 50 bars to the right. So I have a lag of at least 50 bars. So we need to find an intermediate level, let's say 10 bars. This pivot, for example, that's okay. It has 10 bars to the left, 10 bars to the right. Now, one of the many problems of this indicator is, one, it repaints, okay? Because even look at this pivot, for example. This indicator is not painting on real time, okay? When we are here, it is not painting that pivot because it is impossible to know. We need to count 10 bars just to know that that was a pivot. So the indicator repaints into the past. So if I want a very evident pivot, let's say 50 bars to the left, it is also 50 bars to the right. Okay, so this pivot, for example, I know that this pivot was a pivot after 50 bars. All of that is only painted after those 50 bars. I can use a ruler to see how much, and here we can see it is 43, 40, here is 50. So even past the second pivot, it is not painting nothing, okay? So that's okay, no problem, because we can use a lower number, let's say 25. And now we can see that it is painting at that pivot. Also, we can see that there are some differences here. Let's say that you use a limit order, okay, here. But the market is not touching your limit order. The market is bouncing. But why? Why is doing this? Because when people see a so evident pivot, there are people placing limit orders over and below to have a distribution of the entry orders near your pivot. If you get an early entry, that's okay. If it goes below, then you get an average price near the pivot. So you can get, not you, institutions, because having a complex entry like this is very difficult because the distance between one and the other is too big, and you need a big stop to manage that. Placing a stop here, starting on the other side of the pivot is too difficult. Okay, so placing one contract, a limit order of one contract, it is almost impossible. Okay? So with a small trade size, our only solution is to wait to see what happens. The close of that bar is here, but anyway, if we enter at that point, it works. Okay, I don't say trading all the interval, but at least you can enter at the close of the bar, and of course you are not going to take all the way to the upside, but at least a portion of that. So the swing is useful, but it has a lag. Also, so we need to find a not so big number because we have a big delay. Let's say on real time. This is a pivot. Okay, I'm almost sure that to the past we have a lot of bars, but to the future we are on the second bar. Okay, when we have at least 25 bars, then it is going to repaint all the places to the pivot. At this point, we don't know. For those who are interested in this kind of manual trade, we have an indicator similar to this, the TIS swing. The main difference between the TIS swing and the swing is it don't repaint. And this is one of the most important features. And it has two parameters, strength to the left, strength to the right. For example, 25 to the left and just 2 bars to the right. And the remove broken pivots is what the swing is doing that by default, because when the pivot is broken, it is no longer painting. And now we can see that here, this pivot, the TIS swing is showing a pivot that has 25 to the left and only 2 to the right. If we set the don't paint at broken, the remove broken pivot, if we disable that option, that may be useful for a logic because all pivots keep being painted until it finds another one. But I have several videos about using this, but this is for a logic to create a logic. So let's continue with the manual approach of this setup. So we can keep using the swing indicator, again with the strength not so big, not so small, and we get something like this. So the second problem is that the pivots are not, there is no continuation because it only paints one pivot high, one pivot low. For example, here we could say that this is the same pivot. They are close one each other, it worked, and now we are retesting again the same pivot, and again retesting here, but it is not painting. Okay, why not? Why we cannot see the continuation of that pivot? So I can see, because if I am here, I have no idea that there was a pivot, because this indicator, the swing, is only painting one high pivot and one low pivot. So this high pivot is replaced by the new one. So we can use a manual tool or a drawing tool to fix that. Maybe what we are trying to detect is a possible break of any previous pivot. So a manual approach could be using the swing to detect the pivots, but then we need to extend those pivots manually using a ray or a horizontal line like this. Okay. Each time that we have a new pivot, we draw a new ray. And even when we have a case like this, where we can place it in the middle, just to indicate that for us it is the same pivot. So in the future, when we are here, when we are approaching to that level, now we know that there was a pivot. And it is not broken yet. And when we see something like this, don't forget that these three dots are not painted real time. But we can see something like this, a big wick to the upside, and then it is closing below. It seems that it is a moment to place a short. We can enter at market at this close, and it works. This pivot is not broken because we have another new pivot, so we can leave the pivot. And it can be useful for the future, like here. This is all of that is taking the stops over that previous pivot, and the market is not keeping going. It is not going up. So everything that it is doing here is eating all the stops over the previous pivot. And finally, it goes down. How can we trade this? We can, on this candle, where it is retesting the new pivot, here we can enter short at the close of the bar, of course. So the technique is using the swing to detect pivots, and then use a drawing tool to remember all the pivots that were not broken. The problem of the ray is that we need to manually make it horizontal. Here, for example, it is a low pivot, even if the swing is not painting yet. Here we are retesting the pivot. This wick to the downside is eating stops, the same as here. This long wick is giving fill to all the stops and finally closing to the upside. Okay. Here we have a small winner, but it is a setup. Now We have a custom indicator for this setup that I am going to show now, because here we have several problems. First, to detect a pivot, but not so weak. I need a big number of bars to the left, but I don't want to wait too much into the future. So it will be nice if we can make it to use the logic used on TIS swing. Different strength to the left and to the right. But also, it remembers all the pivot, not just the last one, like here. I am no longer remembering this pivot. So I need to remember all the pivots that are not broken. And for that, we have the indicator. Let's remove all of that. The name of the indicator is TIS liquidity levels. Liquidity levels, you can see the parameters. We have strength to the left, strength to the right, and then the tolerance. For example, if the distance between these two levels is less than 5 ticks, for the indicator, it is the same pivot. They are close enough. So it can group pivots. How much I look to the past, 300 bars, or the number that you specify. Let's remove the other indicator so it is more clear what it is doing. So I remove the swing. We can try with 25 to the left. And when we are 3 bars to the right of the possible pivot, then we can consider that as a pivot. Just for the example, so we have more signals, no? Let's make the number smaller. Let's say, let's go again to 10. 10 bars to the left and 3 bars to the right. And what we see here? We can see in golden lines are non-broken pivots, levels to trade. Those are the levels where you can place your target or prepare to enter for this setup. The gray lines are broken and the X levels are signals. This is a long signal that happens at the close of the bar here. So if we enter at that level, we will be trading from that place. Maybe we got a target, maybe we move the stop to break even. Same here. But which is the broken level? The broken level, I guess it is this one. And why it is not painted? Because just we are removing all lines. But if you prefer and you want to have all the chart filled with lines, you can increase. If you want broken lines more than 10 bars into the past, you can increase this number. So now we can see all the broken lines into the past at least 100 bars. But the signal is always painted. When a level is broken, we get a signal painted. Those are short signals, and the green dots are long signals. Where was that short? At the close. Why I have a long signal? Because we are broken this level, this pivot. Of course, if we place a limit order, we need a big stop. Okay, but if we trade the setup, we can wait for the X and then entering at the close. So this was the trade. Then we have a new pivot, a new retest, and the close. This signal has a close here. So this is the place to enter short. This one was not close enough to create a new signal. Let's view more examples. Here we have another broken pivot. This is an entry. This is a loser. Not everything works. So trying to enter long at this place. We can increase the strength to the left, the strength to the right. Regarding the grouping, we can see that here this high pivot was grouped with the other pivot. Let's decrease the tolerance to the just one tick. So now we can see that they are two different levels. One pivot here, another pivot here, and they are unrelated. And we have a signal here. This is Standard & Poor's, so 2 points is 8 ticks. With 8 ticks of tolerance, those two levels are considered like the same level. What we see here, the important for the live trading are the golden lines. Here we can see 2 times. That means there were more than one level, this level and this level. The more pivots grouped, the better the signal, because there are going to be more people placing orders, more stops to be filled. If it worked one time, it may work another time. The problem is, the stronger the signal, the bigger the number of stops that are going to be filled. So maybe it go even below. So we need a big stop to trade this with a limit order. But we can wait for the close. Now, how many signals we can see in the past? We can see here that some levels are discarded. Okay, so that depends on the type of analysis that we want to use. If we want fresh signal from today, the default here is 300, but we can extend those levels. This level, for example, is a broken line. Let's try. By default, we are looking 300 bars into the past. So any level at more than this number is lost. Now we can see that this line is no longer painted because that pivot is now a broken pivot. And for the broken pivot, we have another parameter. If I want to also show all the broken pivots, we can increase this number. For example, let's say, I don't know, 3000. So we can see all the levels and all the broken pivots. It is going to be slower, no? Because the more objects that we paint, the slower. Now the signals are always painted, the dots and the X signals, but not the lines. Here we can see all the signals where we have a broken pivot. So on this way, we can see that we have a lot of pending levels. And they are coming from what I have on the chart, 3000 bars into the past, or whatever number you place. This is the maximum I have on this chart. But again, that depends on the type of analysis that you want to do. How valid they are? Usually that depends on the type of the trader. Usually I look at 2 weeks, but maybe an institution is looking at several months. So this is something that you need to test manually. But what we can see is when we see signals, they are working. if we look at the X or the green dots, we can see that it always you can always see a response, and it is not repainting. Okay, if the signal worked or not worked, the signal remains. For example, here we can see several short signals that are not working. All of these are broken pivots. All of them tried to go short. Now I can request more bars to the left. Sorry, more bars to the right. So I take action only over all the pivots. So for example, if instead of using 3, I move it to 10 and increase also this to 20, for example. So big and strong pivots now they are more robust, and all of these worked. Maybe this one no, but all the others are working. Something I forgot to comment is all the signals, all the levels are exposed. All the signals can be automated with markers or builder. You can find the link to this indicator on the description of this video. For more info, you can contact me on the chat room on Discord. The access is free and the instructions are on the description. Thank you everyone. Bye bye.